We created an AI platform at WeCheck that allows for organizations to go through and find someone's digital presence. We ended up coming up with our second minimum viable product by mid-2024. We got some really interesting clients, due diligence providers, schools, one of the top law firms in the country. I'm building all of this so that I can build tools that can help fight human trafficking. That's my personal life mission.
Hello and welcome to Liberty Spenders Podcast. We are Kurt and Kristen Ludhart, your hosts and co-founders of the Prosper Group, an agency that's helped raise over $500 million and help elect over 100 members of Congress, 15 governors, 15 U.S. senators, and 1 president. So business owners, what if you could exponentially grow your business by tapping into a lucrative and engaged audience of 76.5 million people we call Liberty Spenders? These Americans spend $5 trillion a year, and they're motivated to buy from businesses and brands that share their values. If you want to learn more about that, you can get access to our new best-selling book at libertyspenders.com/free.
Today, we're excited to host Ralph Peña, U.S. Marine Corps veteran and CEO of WeCheck AI. From his roots in military law enforcement to leading compliance at the Bank of America, Ralph now drives WeCheck AI's mission to revolutionize due diligence with AI-powered risk assessment tools. He's serving law firms and global security providers, and his work also aims to combat human trafficking.
Woo.
Ralph, it's great to have you.
Welcome.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Hello.
Yeah, we're so happy to be here. And I know a lot of our listeners aren't going to really know what WeCheck AI is, so I want to get right into that. So for people who are just tuning in, they don't know your company, give us the lowdown on what you do, what makes you different from all the other AI companies out there popping up left and right that do different things. What's the edge? Give us the pitch.
All right. So we created an AI platform at WeCheck that allows for organizations to go through and find someone's digital presence. So their social media, their web presence. And what we do with that is we find the red flags about that individual, and we'll put it in a report and we'll provide it to our clients so that they can make better decisions about who they hire, invest in, or partner with.
Sounds good. I like how quick you are in describing it. Sometimes you ask that question, you get the 10-minute word salad.
Yes.
Lots of practice.
Yes. I like it. But, swapping military life for Bank of America, I wanted to get into that because that sounded interesting.
Yeah.
So you're doing the Marine thing, then you end up in the bank. That's a big switch. How'd you get fired up to go from schlepping around the world to compliance at Bank of America?
So what happened was it was 2011. I went to college using the GI Bill. Very thankful for that. And at that time, didn't really know what I wanted to do. And eventually met my wife. We ended up getting pregnant after getting married. And at that point, I was like, I need to make some money. I need to rush through this whole college. I needed to rush through this college thing really fast. So I started double timing.
Changes your perspective just a little bit.
I started double timing the college credits. In a matter of 2 years, I went from no college credits or the college credits that I got from the Marine Corps to having a bachelor's degree. And so I rushed that really fast. And then eventually during that time, I had an internship with Goldman Sachs, 10,000 Small Businesses. And it was a very interesting program there where eventually I got introduced to different financial institutions. One of them was Merrill Lynch. Merrill Lynch is owned by Bank of America. Merrill Lynch took me in as a financial advisor trainee, got in there. And then eventually, I liked it. I liked the banking industry. It allowed me to make a decent amount of money in a very short period of time. Especially, it's all about like how much you're willing to put into it. If you're willing to work hard, and I was used to it already. Coming from the Marine Corps, working like 100+ hour weeks, literally, and then going to college and rushing that. So doing what people do in 4 years, doing it in 2. Then stepping into the banking industry, I was like, yeah, let's keep going, keep putting the same amount of effort. And so I killed it. I mean, every year I was getting promoted. Eventually, an entity at Bank of America that used to be called U.S. Trust, now it's called Bank of America Private Bank. I was getting promoted, and then eventually became a VP there, and was managing a team. And that was a team of wealth strategists and bankers, and had to do a lot of compliance and due diligence. And so that's really the story with that.
Yeah, I think we need to insert that Seinfeld clip here where Kramer says he just wants to be a banker. I don't know. Maybe there's not a lot of Seinfeld fans in the audience.
Oh, I was one.
That's not true. It's a great show.
I was one. No soup for you. Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
Yes. All right. So I love this path is interesting. So at some point, though, you said, like, screw it. I'm leaving banking to start an AI company.
Yeah.
What triggered that?
Well, I mean, so at the bank, especially during my time at Merrill Lynch, they gave me the opportunity to be part of this leadership committee for this program called MEGI, short for Merrill Edge Guided Investing. And that was their robo-advisor. What was cool about that opportunity was that it let me take part of like project management and project development and like learning a little bit more about the tech side and fintech and things like that. And that really opened up my mind and my appetite. I was like, wow, like this is amazing. How like ideas can go into software, and this software can now impact millions of people. And I'm like, this is pretty cool. So then by 2020, I actually lucked out because there was I had invested in Ethereum cryptocurrencies early on when nobody was talking about it in college. And then had an opportunity to basically sell that. So I had a nice bag of money there to be able to do some interesting things, plus the experience at the bank. And so I said, you know what, let's take a gamble, and I did. So I spent a couple of years there, like investing in tech companies, advising, sitting on advisory boards, and also like leading operations at a couple
startups
to like kind of find my grounding and understand this space, something that I had a little bit of an idea from Bank of America, but really had to dive deeper into and understand things like software engineers and product development and how partnerships work when you're in a startup. And then eventually I met my partner, who's my CTO and co-founder. And when him and I started building a relationship at a startup that we were both working at, where I was a chief Web3 officer and he was building out the app for that startup, I got to know him, and he told me, yeah, man, before this, I was in charge of identity for this other startup where I was doing facial recognition and liveness detection. I'm like, dude, what are we doing here, bro? Like, because we were doing this cool thing where we were tokenizing soccer balls that would make it into the goal for La Liga Santander, which is the second biggest soccer league in around the world, but they're in Spain. So Real Madrid, those teams over there. Barcelona. So we were tokenizing those soccer balls, authenticating them and all that stuff. But I'm like, dude, you're a talent, man. You know facial recognition, you know identity. Like, why don't we do something together? And he's like, yeah, I'm open to it. I'm like, okay, well, let's think about some ideas.
Spoken like a true tech, just like the nerd, the back end nerd. He's like, yeah, all right. And you're like, hey, we can make some money.
Yeah. I was like, let's do something, man. Let's do something more impactful. And so getting to know him, we became friends, and eventually we came up with like what brings more meaning to our lives. And we were very aligned on like bringing something to the world that provides more safety. And the initial idea was to create this quick app that allowed realtors to find out if they're about to meet up with someone random at a showing that maybe has a criminal history, sex predator, or something crazy like that. Mm-hmm. And we were talking to like a whole bunch of big names out there, like National Association of Realtors. We're talking like a whole bunch of different entities out there. I can't name all of them, but It was great. We basically created a what's called a minimal viable product, a prototype. By the end of 2023, it was getting tested. Everybody's loving it. And then around that time of end 2023, beginning 2024, that whole industry took a pause because they got this huge lawsuit. It was like a multi-billion-dollar lawsuit because like their sales contracts. I don't know like all the specifics, but basically everything was like getting on pause. And as a startup, we can't just do that. We had just raised $325,000 from our friends and family. And I'm like, like I can't go back to everyone and say, hey, sorry, just like I lost your money. I'm not doing that. And so me and my partner were like,
that makes Thanksgiving a little awkward.
So it's like, okay, so what do we do? How do we navigate this and like pivot? That's ultimately what a lot of startups have to do in this in the tech space. We have to pivot, make it work. And so we're like, okay, well, let's talk to everyone and get some feedback as to what they felt about the app. And maybe we open it up to, other industries. And everybody told us, look, we could always use like a bin verified or one of these other applications to find out someone's information and maybe if they have a criminal record. But what you have regarding people's social media, that's unique. Like we're able to find out like your social media, anything that's being said about you online. And we're able to do that really fast in a matter of minutes. And so like, okay, interesting. Well, received. And at that point, we went back to the think tank and we're like, okay, so let's focus on that thing that everybody's telling us we're very special in. And let's develop that more robustly and open it up to more industries, become more industry agnostic, and then find a better fit, something that is not going to kill us just because one industry decides to pause for whatever reason. And so we started doing that, and we ended up coming up with our second minimal viable product by mid 2024. And we started selling it, and we got some really interesting clients onboarded in the very beginning, due diligence providers, schools, one of the top law firms in the country. Amazing stuff. Like we started getting some really good traction. And then we were like, okay, let's pause for a second because we're going to have to get some feedback from all these clients we just onboarded to make sure that we're serving them correctly, like all the features they may need, things like that. So then we can start scaling after that. And that's what we've been doing. So now we're in that growth phase. We have investors that are interested in jumping on board. We've already had 2 buyout opportunities there that didn't go so well, at least for them, because like I'm pushing for autonomy. Like if you want to buy out the company, I want to keep going with my vision. And you mentioned it earlier, like I'm building all of this so that I can build tools that can help fight human trafficking. Ultimately, that's that's like personal life mission. So
well, I'm going to skip then because I wanted to ask you about that. And you just opened the door wide open. And, we all know that's a big problem right now. Yes. Several things recently in the media really opened our eyes to that sort of thing that's happening all over the world. And it's just kind of, unless you're in some of the darkest places, you don't appreciate just how prevalent it is. And how does your platform help with tackling that sort of sex trafficking? How can you contribute? What's your vision there?
Yeah. So for right now, the people that we're screening for these organizations, we're always keeping an eye out for that, right? So if we find someone that has indications of being a child predator and stuff like that, we will flag that. And if we go down the rabbit hole and we find that there is evidence, we'll take it to the authorities. But further than that, we are developing tools that proactively finds these people autonomously. And that's like all my money, everything that's being generated, I put it right back into R&D so that I can eventually get to that goal where I think of like AI that's constantly like a detective online, constantly looking for these people. And yeah, man, it's something that, I'm glad we're touching the topic because this is really the whole reason why I'm doing all of this. I could be doing other businesses, right? Like there's so many opportunities out there today, but the whole reason why I'm dedicating my time to this is because knowing that there's children right now praying to be found, right at this very moment that you and I are talking. There's a child. And I'm sorry to like put it like this, but I have to illustrate it like this so that people understand. But there's a child in a container right now, like praying to be found in some dark corner right now, praying to be found. And God has put it in me to help answer that prayer. And I'm so glad that there's people out there like Tim Tebow, and I'm hearing more about other startups and other people that are putting forth, their energy and their resources to do this. But until they're all found, like it's not enough, right? It's like we need to keep pushing harder. So that's how I feel.
Hey, business owners, did you know there's 76.5 million faith-based and conservative consumers that are looking to support brands that align with their values?
That's a $5 trillion opportunity, and if you're not tapping into it, you're leaving money on the table. Our new book, Liberty Spenders, is your ultimate guide to reaching this influential audience using conviction-driven marketing.
That's right. We break down real-world strategies that successful brands are using right now to connect with this audience authentically, build trust, and drive long-term business growth.
So if you're truly serious about standing out in today's crowded market, grab your copy today on Amazon or visit libertyspenders.com. And don't miss out on this revolutionary strategy called conviction-driven marketing. Was there a moment when you felt really inspired to incorporate this into your business and mission?
Yeah. So in fact, remember that time that I told you where like we were in between that whole pivot phase and like it was a dark time for me. Like I joke around and I laugh like, oh yeah, I'm going to, how am I going to tell my friends and family that I lost their money? But I was really worried about it, right? Like I don't want to be that
it's not
guy.
quite so comical when you're in that moment.
In that moment, like I'm going through like panic attacks, literally. I'm going through stress and my wife sees me that I'm breaking down, and so this one evening, like we sit down and pray before going to sleep. And she, she prays over me and we're asking God, like, please give me guidance, give me wisdom, like, so that I can just do the right thing here. Right. Cause I don't know what to do. And so basically putting in God's hands. Right. And, what happened after that was very incredible. I think I consider it a miracle. Some people might be like, that's torturous, but I had a very vivid dream where like I saw children. And before this, by the way, I wasn't even thinking about, helping kids or, finding them and things like that. But that night I had a dream about children, again, in these containers, in these dark corners, like suffering. As I'm waking up out of this dream, like I'm hearing a voice tell me like, that's what WeCheck is going to do. WeCheck is going to find these kids. And like, it was so impactful that like, as I'm coming out of this, I didn't want to forget. And I'm like tearing up and I'm sweating. I literally recorded it. I recorded that moment, just so that I would never forget. And I do, whenever it gets hard, I do go back to that moment to always remind myself, like, what's my mission? And, yeah, man, that was the moment that like really impacted me and I said, like, this is what I'm going to be focused on no matter what, no matter if, because in business, there's ups and downs. So no matter how low the down can go, I've already built something that I can continue pushing forward, that companies are already finding value in, and that I already know is making a difference. So I'm just going to keep pushing that forward and keep building that.
That experience sounds intense. And I know, Kristen, I know what it's like at times to feel concerned about where's the next dollar coming from, where's the next client, where's the paycheck for us and our employees. But on maybe a less serious way to approach it, do you have a go-to thing you do when you need to decompress? Do you have a guilty pleasure? Are you a binge watcher of Seinfeld? Do you like to sneak some junk food? What helps keep you sane?
The junk food is definitely it. I do.
There's a reason why Kurt went to that. You're right. You could put two and two together, maybe.
Never.
The junk food is definitely a problem there. Look, I do play some games with my son. Like we hang out. We'll play some video games, stuff like that. But mainly I really keep myself very busy.
Yeah.
So like I'm writing emails at 11 p.m., 12 a.m. Like I'm one of those people. And then like I have to remind myself, like put the send at 8:30 a.m. option so that I don't bother people too late. So
you don't want them to know exactly your work schedule. Like, oh, Ralph couldn't sleep. Clearly, he's up emailing it too.
Yeah.
And then something that I took with me from the military and my time at Bank of America and all that is like work hard, play hard. So when it's time to play, let's play. Like, okay, if I have an opportunity to go have a weekend with my family, completely disconnect. Let's go to the Keys, let's go fishing. I love fishing. That is like one of my main hobbies. So go fishing, spend time with the family, and just do a barbecue, but complete disconnect. And that's my go-to.
Yeah. Well, maybe you're up in the middle of the night though, because you're working internationally these days. I think you shared that you've got some interest from Latin America and some other places to work with you guys in the security space. So what's that? What are those conversations like? That sounds exciting.
It is. I would love to help our own personal, like national security here in our country, but we got a lot of things covered. So, if they need me or if they hear about WeCheck or if, they finally answer to one of my outreaches, then I'm happy to work with them. But for now, we are getting some interest in Latin America. Just came back from Mexico, where I was able to speak with heads of state and their staff regarding AI and how it pertains to their national security. I got to speak with even our embassy out there as well, which was pretty interesting. And then also got invited recently to speak with the consulate of Argentina. And we're getting interest also Guatemala. So like me, by the way, you hear the accent. I was born in Miami, but my dad is Cuban. My mom is Peruvian. My first language was actually Spanish, even though I was born here in the United States. And I can communicate pretty well in Spanish. And I think that a lot of times people look at issues from the surface. And I think how we need to attack issues is through the root cause. And unfortunately, a lot of that root cause does come from Latin America. So a lot of times, we are hearing about things that are happening at the border. We're hearing about things that are happening inside of our country. And we got to call a spade, and we got to call it what it is. It's not that all Latinos, that we're bad people, but things are crossing our border that shouldn't. And it's not always Latin. Sometimes it's Chinese. Sometimes it's Iran. Sometimes it's our enemies crossing that border, and they're stepping onto the soil of our neighbors, right? Mexico, right? They're stepping onto Costa Rica, Nicaragua. They're stepping onto Ecuador. They're stepping onto all these different countries, and they're making their way here somehow, right? Whether it's Venezuela, right, or some other country, and they want to fix that problem too. They don't want to live in a place that they have to worry about their lives and their families' lives and all that. Nobody wants to live like that. Some of them, like in the political sphere in those countries, they're just like they're being cautious, right? They're just being cautious about their own lives because they know that at any moment, like all it costs is like $100, and that's it. They're gone. That cheap. That's how cheap your life is out there. So, that's why I actually like, talking to these heads of state in Latin America, trying to find ways to implement our technology out there where we can identify some of these threats and risks that they can potentially mitigate through our red flag system. And who knows? We'll see. I mean, I would love to be able to tackle that because that also there's a lot of human trafficking that goes down over there, unfortunately.
Well, let's get into your red flag system, because I think breaking it down for everybody is really helpful, because so far we're talking high level, we're talking governments, right? Big organizations, but obviously I know you're trying to go mass market with this, and there's a lot of implications and a lot of benefits for business owners that are listening. So help us understand that. What is it about WeCheck AI that is searching for, or what is the piece on the social media front and the digital footprint that you guys are catching that other people might miss or that other tools might miss?
So let's use an example, as we were talking about earlier. So there is this guy that unfortunately unalived two people in Washington, D.C. a few months ago. These people worked for the Israeli embassy, and this individual, found them and killed them. This person, when this happened, I told my team, hey, as soon as his face and name pops up, run it through our system and let's see what happens. And when we did that, we ended up finding, a couple of his social media channels, more things on his web presence. And we did this literally as soon as his name was put out into the public. So a few hours after the incident occurred. And so this means that we were able to do it before the social media channels took down all of his web presence. And we were able to identify his X account where he was saying some really outrageous things, unhinged posts out there. Like, for example, one of them was like, Happy New Year's, death to Israel, right? This was like January 1st, 2024. I remember that was one of the posts. But there are a lot of like posts like that he had out there. And what's interesting is looking at, his work history and things like that, we noticed that he got hired in mid 2024 by a company, which I'm not going to say their name, obviously, for obvious reasons. It goes to show that there are organizations out there that are not even trying to look for this type of, this check on someone's background regarding their web presence. Because had they found that, they probably wouldn't have hired the guy. You're not going to hire someone that's saying these crazy things online. But they did. And they ended up hiring someone that ended up killing people. Now, God forbid that guy would have killed somebody at his workplace, right? Things like that could happen. And so what do we look for? We look for discrimination. Unfortunately, that's more than 10% of the subjects that come across our platform have some instance of discrimination, whether it's racism, xenophobia, anti-Semitism. And we also look for instances of, suggestive content. So like it could be sexual nature, nudity, stuff like that. We also look for aggressive harassment. We found a couple pedophiles. And so, we're looking for things that you wouldn't want around you. Like just obvious things that you just wouldn't want around you. You wouldn't want to work around. You wouldn't want to be around an individual like that. You wouldn't want to partner with someone like that. And we just, we identify those red flags and we let you make the decision you want to make at the end of the day. It's up to you. Now, we also understand that some people could change, right? So like you could potentially feel a certain way 10 years ago when you were younger. And I know, I thought completely different when I was in college compared to today, as I'm sure most of us have. And and we might have, and I know I did. I did a check on myself, and I know I said some things that I shouldn't have said, and I deleted those things. I cleaned up my digital footprint, and I thought to myself, you know what? People deserve to check themselves. Kind of like when you check your credit report and you're able to like look at that and fix it. So recently we've been working on something else where it's a self-check on your web presence. So that you have the opportunity, like a second chance, if you will, to like clean that up if you're not like that anymore. And you'd be surprised. Like I've done expos and stuff like that where I'm showing people, I have the iPad out and they're searching themselves. And they'll be like, yeah, nah, that's me. I want to leave it there. Like, okay, that's you. This is your chance, whatever. And so like, we are coming out with a product pretty soon that will allow anyone to check themselves. We're going to verify the individual. This will be a special WeCheck self-check account, which in the future we have some more plans with it. But essentially, you'll have to verify your government ID through facial recognition, also that you are yourself. You're not an AI. And then after that, we'll find all that there is about you online. And then you can do whatever you wish with that information, whether keep it, delete it, whatever you want. It's up to you. Through that process, we are letting, in our terms and conditions and disclaimer, we're letting people know, like, if you have anything there that pertains to like pedophilia, human trafficking, those heinous things, like, we have an obligation to tell the authorities. So I'm still maintaining my mission on that. Meanwhile, allowing people to clean things up. We say, check yourself before you wreck yourself. That song by Ice Cube. Back in the 90s. Maybe I'm dating myself.
I'm not afraid to admit I know it.
Well, I love the self-check thing because we've all been young, right?
Yep.
And I remember in high school being obsessed with this trumpet player who played Wind Beneath My Wings. And I think I'd like to erase that from my history if I ever. Now, thankfully,
I don't know if that'll come up as a red flag.
Yeah.
Like, hey, this guy is just into some bad music.
Yeah. Well, and thankfully for me, I didn't have social media in high school because it really, came after that.
I'm thankful for that too.
And I also, I used to have glasses that had a side missing, and I'd wear them anyway, and had them all taped up. I was like the nerds that we always watched in the 80s, the nerd shows with the taped up glasses.
Yeah.
So,
well, now you're talking about a filter that's like,
Yes.
Yeah.
Can AI replace my photos with something that makes me look less like a nerd?
It's all part of your story. It's all part of your charm.
But it sounds exciting, and I can see as an employer why I'd be interested in this. Now I'm starting to get a little selfish about it. For employers, how do you price this thing? Is it per search? Is it, do people pay a monthly fee for access? What's it look like?
It's per search. So we have two main products. We have an AI only product where you'll get a report in minutes. And it's really good. You basically find the person's digital presence and the red flags, and you make a decision as to like how you want to go with that. Then we also have an AI plus an analyst product. Typically, that's for like our big enterprises that they do want a human review. And we do have a team of analysts that does review these reports. And basically those firms will basically buy a credit per subject that they want to search. Right now we're working with clients that typically are running like hundreds to like 1,000 plus reports per year. And that's like the business segment that we are focused on. However, we are starting to work on a few things so that we can take on middle market, small business. It's just that, as I mentioned earlier, we had to perfect like the process, and we had to find a way to do this at scale. And we're finally there. And so now we're able to start taking on smaller clients. But we tested this whole process with, like I said, some of the biggest companies out there. So now people can feel good about it.
Well, and I think it's interesting. We were talking about this before we aired, which is we're all balancing this line of wanting to check things, right? Wanting to have enhanced security, but also not wanting to violate our liberties, wanting to respect privacy. And so I just think it's an interesting tool in how you've described it, and even opening it up for people to check, to look at themselves and make those determinations, because people listening would know, so many people were getting, canceled, right? For something that would have been said, decades ago that, and nobody likes that. We don't like the idea that we're going to judge people based on some kind of behavior. Now, that's not your focus. You're also trying to identify people that might do harm, right?
Exactly.
And have like serious risks, involved. And so I just think this is interesting that we can navigate this, and figure out, like you said, have people make those determinations of what they think's the right use of it. And again, it's another reminder for anybody. You also choose what's public, right? Depending on the social media profile. So you can have a lot of that stuff locked down also. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking, oh my, what all can they find? Like some of this is somewhat limited to what's publicly available. Am I correct about that? Or as part of the check, are people giving you permission to access?
Yeah. So as part of the self-check, if you want a thorough check, you'll give permission. If you are getting checked by an employer, you do have to provide consent, especially depending on the state that you're in. We and that's one of the reasons why we strategize this very well with onboarding attorneys first, big law firms, because they were able to vet our whole process. So we have consent forms for each and every state, and also international, because there's laws regarding privacy around the world. And so basically, let's say it was an employer wanting to check you, we'd send a consent form on behalf of your employer. You'd fill out that form, and then from there, we'll look up anything that is publicly available about you. Now, here's the thing. Some people will be like, yeah, I'll put everything to private. Okay, cool. But here's the thing, like your friends and family sometimes post you, right? And we've found instances where like someone that had a very clean digital footprint that they themselves put out there ended up having one of their friends posting them doing things they shouldn't be doing, but it's already out there. It's actually Googleable.
Right.
Right.
So be careful.
I just wanted to put that out there for people to understand, right? Because we talked about a little bit of your process. And so wanted to get that out there.
Yeah. Well, I'm the most boring human alive. So I don't know. I think people even seeing a picture of me with a beer in my hand would probably think, what AI generated that image.
Yeah. We're like, that's not real.
But I think it's really powerful and important. And for folks, I love the self-check thing, because I think that's something I'd want to do.
Yeah.
If I were looking for a job, if I were choosing to be a little bit more out in the public, even some things that were written with good intent and innocence might not sound good, 15 years later.
Right.
And
exactly
being able to go through that stuff is great. And
I also really respect the people that say, no, I'm keeping it.
Yeah.
I remember doing that before, our work in politics and working at presidential level campaigns and doing some of this searching for myself and deciding, nope, that stuff's staying. I stand by, I stand by those things, and I'm not cleaning, quote unquote, cleaning that up for anybody else. So I love that you shared that perspective too.
Yeah.
People get to make that choice.
100%.
Yeah.
We're all about standing by your convictions here. So I never want to make anybody feel like we're telling you to
convictions. I mean,
to
if
hide, water down, step away from faith, or any of those things that you think are important to share.
Yeah. For every interviewee, end our podcast with our lightning round. And so we've got 3 questions for you. Kristen, do you want to ask the questions this time?
Sure.
I think you've got good energy right now.
Well, it's easy to have good energy talking to Ralph, although it still feels weird calling you Ralph. Okay, I know you told us to, but
It's Raphael, folks.
it just feels wrong. All kinds of wrong.
I liked Ralph because I feel like I murder a lot of our guest names. And
it's easy.
Ralph, I get right.
You're doing that for us. But anyway. So we love asking about this because we hear such interesting stories. So we're trying to keep it to 90 seconds. So, when you're looking back on your days many, many decades from now, what are you going to look back on to feel like you've had a life well lived, or you've left behind the legacy that you want?
Solving the human trafficking issue. That's it. At the end of the day, like, it doesn't matter rich or poor, we're all going to die. Right. I know I'm going to go and I'm going to go meet God. I'm going to go meet Jesus. Right. And that's, and that's where I'm going. But how am I going to leave the world behind? Right. Like, I want to make sure that the impact that I leave behind sets forth a path for like never having to hear about human trafficking ever again.
Yeah.
All right. Now, for a change in pace, 60 to 90 seconds on something that's taken you down the rabbit hole recently. It could be a book you've read. It could be a show, sports team, hobby. What's really fascinated you in recent days?
I don't know. Honestly, like, for me, it's just watching my son grow. Like, I just that's really it. Like, I know it's
I'm
really
laughing because
emotional.
I get it.
Yeah, it's like really, really emotional and stuff like that. But it's like just watching, like, it's amazing. The just watching and seeing the impact that you can have on another human, right? And so just that.
Now, is this like an age range preteen, older than that?
10. He's 10. So
okay.
it's like he's
Okay.
going
So
through
yeah,
that
sweet.
stage.
That's a steer. Yeah, okay. That's a very, you're still in a very sweet spot.
Yeah.
Well, that's beautiful. And then last but not least, your chance for gratuitous promotion. If somebody didn't listen to anything else of this episode and they just wanted to hear this, give us the 90-second description of WeCheck AI. Who should be reaching out to you? Who should be working with you?
Honestly, like what I'd like to bring on more is people that are passionate about what I'm doing. I mean, I've explained through this whole podcast, like what I'm doing, but if this is the only, segment that you're listening to, then look, we're building this AI platform that finds a person's digital footprints to help organizations identify risks about the people they're about to hire or invest in or partner with. And I'd like to find partners in this, whether it's investor partners or strategic partners. I want to find more partnerships because I know that I can't do this alone. It requires a team. It requires a community, basically. And that's what I'm trying to put together as well.
Amazing. Well, I know we can definitely help you with that. And I'm sure people listening can do that too. So make sure you check out WeCheck.ai and follow up to see how you can help Ralph have a greater impact.
Yes. And we're so happy to have you on the show. So thank you so much for joining. And I'm going to repeat this so that people hear it. Find Ralph at www.wecheck.ai and to learn more.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Well, thanks for putting your time and energy into this. For those of you listening, we appreciate your time. Thanks so much. We know how valuable it is. If you found value in today's episode, don't forget to like and subscribe and leave us a review so we can reach more people and have a greater impact. Until next time.